Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys what the best abilities are in Madden 24 right now. I'm going to split this video up by positional group, so if you have like a specific position that you want to look at, go ahead, skip through the video. I'll have it sectioned out. And then also real quick, if you guys have Madden clips that you want to send me that can be coached for future videos, the Discord link in the description down below. Make sure to go join that. You can send clips in. You might be featured in a video. Actually, you probably will be because my channel is not big yet. The abilities that I am going to be going over are the best abilities that you should be using. 100% you should be spending AP on. Obviously, it's up to you how you want to create your offense and your defense with your AP, but these are the abilities that you should spend your AP on. We're going to start out with QBs. I'm just going to like kind of show the players that I'm using, and then I'm going to just kind of like go through it there. And we're going to start off with set feet lead. Now, set feet lead gives you increased throwing power when leading bullet passes with set feet. Usually it's around 4 AP, so it's going to be a hefty price, but it is well worth it. Set feet lead gets that ball with some serious velocity on it and gets the ball into windows that you usually cannot make without this ability. And now that zone KOs are starting to come out a little bit more, it's very important to have the set feet lead ability. Hot Route Master is the next ability that you definitely should be spending your AP on. What Hot Route Master does is it takes a culmination of every single extra route tree ability and puts it into one, and you put it on your quarterback. So when you have this ability activated, you'll have extra routes for the running back, extra routes for all your receivers, extra routes for your tight end. And even when you motion the running back out to a receiver, he gets receiver routes. If you motion the tight end out to a receiver spot, he gets receiver routes. Another thing about Hot Route Master, with also some of these other abilities that I will get into in a little bit, some of these abilities are actually discounted X factors on different players as well. So sometimes you might be able to mess around with your players. Like for instance, my Joe Flacco, I have set feet lead and gunslinger as my abilities, and then for my X factor, I actually have Hot Route Master. Usually you only get these on like certain cards like AKAs, and I think the Cover Athletes promo you get some, but just look out for that because you might be able to get discounted abilities in the X factor position. The next ability that I'll definitely say you should be using is Fearless. Now me personally, I don't use it because Joe Flacco has a very, very high throw under pressure stat, so he rarely throws under pressure. But Fearless is so good because it completely negates pressure for every single pass attempt. Now, obviously, if you're like moonwalking 85 yards back, you might get it, okay? You might get it because you're 87 billion yards back in the pocket, okay? You're not even on planet Earth anymore. Another very expensive ability, though, so you got to be careful about if you want to use it because you might be taking up a lot more space for other abilities. The next ability that you should absolutely be using, and I think everybody should have this ability because of how cheap it is, Gunslinger. Gunslinger's a classic ability, gives you a faster passing animation. So when you combine this ability with set feet lead, not only are you throwing the ball faster in the animation, you're getting the ball to the receiver faster with that set feet lead. So Gunslinger, just one of those, just a classic. It just makes your throwing animation faster. I think you absolutely should be using this. Now the final ability that I kind of have a little asterisk on is Gift Wrapped. So Gift Wrapped is one of those abilities that kind of became really good this year because dropping open passes has been a problem. Basically what it does is it basically makes your players not drop the ball when they're wide open, and usually this happens with running backs most of the time. That's been the biggest problem. But in the current state of the game, I don't think Gift Wrapped is necessary. Now, if it's like a 0 AP ability, sure, throw it on. Why not? I mean, it's 0 AP, it's not affecting you at all. But you don't need it. I mean, like, for me personally, I have Ricky Williams, who has 70 catching. I throw it into coverage a lot, and he gets hit right after catching the ball a lot. And he holds on to the ball. And I don't use Gift Wrapped. So I think Gift Wrapped is one of those ones that it's like, if it's free, take it. If you have an extra spot, take it. Why not? But don't put it into your game plan of trying to put abilities on your players. Now moving on to the X factors, obviously I kind of mentioned before, there are discounted abilities for certain players. As you can see, Joe Flacco gets Hot Route Master, Gunslinger, and Fearless as the discounted X factor. I'm using Hot Route Master, but I don't want to focus on the abilities. I actually want to focus on the legitimate X factors that you get. The first one, absolute classic, Bazooka, gives you better throwing power, Basically, you get 15 plus yards of max throwing distance. It does not work like set feet lead. It just gives you farther throwing distance. So it's a classic one. I mean, if I would use it, honestly, if I didn't have this next X Factor, which I believe is the best by far, and you absolutely should use it if you're using X Factors, Omaha. Omaha is broken, to say the least, to put it simply. Omaha is broken. It literally shows you the defensive coverage of DBs. You can literally look at the opposing player's play art. Now, obviously, you don't get to see what the linebackers are doing, and if you're smart, you can figure out what the linebackers are going to do. Now, the thing about offense is that with 7 AP in the game as of right now, probably going to get an update here soon, you're probably going to end up spending 7 AP on your quarterback. Let's be honest. Quarterback is definitely going to be the most important position every single year, and I think you should probably max out your quarterback with all the AP possible. So I'm going to kind of skim through like the best abilities that you can use on your other players. But honestly, bro, quarterback is like the only position you'll be using AP on as of right now. So looking at running backs, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's a single running back ability worth it. The only one I think there is recuperation. The only reason I say that is because with like a lot of hit sticks and stuff, your guys might get stamina glitched. So recuperation, you just take them out for a play, put them back in, they're going to be perfectly fine. Actually, I lied. There's a couple that I could probably go through. Running a back apprentice is one of those good ones, but obviously, like I said, if you have hot route master, you don't need this because you already get the hot routes with the quarterback. Goal line back is definitely one of the good ones, though. Goal line back, you get like really, really strong blocks within 5 yards of the end zone. I've used this before early on in the year. It's very, very good. Especially if you're a running type of player, use this. Goal line back is very, very good. Jukebox is kind of one of those glitchy abilities this year. A lot of people use them when they just spam jukes because of how broken the juke move is this year. Other than that, there's really not many abilities that are worth it. I'm going to move on to the X Factors, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Freight Train is the only X Factor you should ever use for your running back. Basically, you get a guaranteed broken tackle when this is activated. Moving on to receivers. Now, see, another position group that, you know, doesn't have a lot of value in the ability spot. For example, like short and elite last year was like a need. Like you needed short and elite to be like do good. But with the way man coverage works this year, you don't need it. I'm going to be honest, you don't need it. Same thing with these apprentices. You don't need it if you're running hot route master on your quarterback. So it's kind of useless almost. Deep elite is one of those that might be kind of glitchy this year. You just get better catching on deep passes. So if you kind of just like throw the ball up and it's in coverage and there's no ability on the defender, chances are you're probably going to come down with it. But again, like I said, it's not like needed. I mean, if you got to step on your defender and you throw it up, you're probably going to catch it anyways, especially if he doesn't have an ability. So I don't know. I would stay away from receiver abilities unless you're not using hot route master and you need extra routes. And also going over the X factors, really the best one that I would say, honestly, there's two that I would consider. Double me always is a good one because it forces your opponent to put double coverage on that person because you will always go and win that one-on-one matchup if you have double me activated. And then yak 'em up is one of those that I actually like to use over double me. I think it's more valuable. Basically what it does is you break the first post catch tackle. So basically it's freight train for receivers. And I'm also going to include tight ends with this. Same thing as I was saying before. If you're not using hot route master, consider using the apprentices on these guys. The abilities really aren't worth it that much. The only thing I will say is that a couple of these guys get discounted abilities in the X Factor spot. As you can see, this Kyle Pitts that I'm still rocking has Route Technician. Route Technician is crazy. Route Technician is basically every single route where they break, like a slant post, right when they're about to break, Route Technician makes that cut really sharp and it screws up the defender a lot more. So you get more space on cuts. So Route Technician, really good one, but obviously it's a very, very specific example because Kyle Pitts, I think, is the only one that gets it. Maybe there's a couple other guys that get it. And then offensive line, I'm just going to be frank with you, man. You don't need abilities on your O-line right now. In the current state of the game, you don't. Let's start with the defense. We're going to start with the DB group as a collective, and that means free safeties, strong safeties, and all the cornerbacks. So I think easily the best abilities right now that you can use for your DBs and your linebackers is the coverage KOs. The best of the best, though, is these deep out zone KOs for your safeties and even your outside corners. Most routes are going to end up passing through this deep out zone spot. So basically, when you think about where this is covering, think about where an outside third in a cover 3 covers, or where a deep half in a cover 2 covers. That's the kind of the zone that this ability is going to cover. And anytime the ball is thrown within that little area, this ability is going to activate. The guy is going to cut to the ball way quicker, and it's going to have a way better chance of knocking the ball out. So the one thing about this ability is they actually changed it from last year. Last year, it was a guaranteed knockout. This year, it isn't. It's chance-based. But I will say it's very effective, and it works a lot of the time. Now, that's not saying the other ones aren't good. Like mid-zone KO, deep in KO, flat KO, all those are really, really good. But I think deep out zone KO sticks out the most. And then also, if you're a man coverage guy, you can go short route KO, you can go medium route KO, you can go deep route KO. I just feel like the zone KOs are still a lot better. The next ability that's definitely very good and very valuable for defensive backs is pick artist. So as you know, it's been a problem that safeties just decide to, drop the ball when it's in their hands. Pick artist basically guarantees you that you will not drop the ball on an interception. Plus, you get better stamina, so you're probably not going to be tired when you're trying to return it for an interception, for a pick 6. I feel like pick artist is one of those ones that if you have an extra spot, absolutely use it on, say, your user, or even like a person that has a zone KO. So like they'll react quicker, get to the ball quicker, and they're probably going to catch a contested interception. I would go over bench press, but press is so bad this year that I don't think bench press works. I remember I played a guy with bench press, and he literally got torched every single time. So I don't think it really works that well anymore. Now, the rest of these abilities kind of lead me into my linebackers, actually. So as we know it, linebackers do not animate like safeties do. That's why you see people using safeties at linebacker, because linebackers, they just don't get the lurking animations that safeties do. And what I mean by that, for people that are new, is that safeties will jump higher than linebackers. They will dive for the ball and swat for the ball a lot more than linebackers. And most of the time, linebackers don't even knock the ball out when you make a collision with a receiver that's like in traffic with that linebacker. You think a linebacker would be better in run support. They're not. Safeties are perfectly fine in run support. The thing about linebackers this year is that there's a couple of meta formations that use a lot of linebackers. So a lot of people this year are using this lurk artist ability. Now, I'll be honest, just like for shits and giggles, I did try it out. Oh my God, it is so worth it, dude. It's basically lurker on cocaine. Basically, it gives linebackers the ability to play like safeties. So when you have lurk artist activated, linebackers will jump like safeties, they'll dive and swat for like safeties, and they'll definitely knock the ball out a lot more like safeties. This is very specific because if you want to use a linebacker as a user, you absolutely 100% have to use a lurk artist or you are not going to succeed. Now let's move on to the X factors of the DBs. Never use X factors on your linebackers. The only X factor you should ever be using on defense is universal coverage. Because when this is activated, it is broken, dude. It is basically all the zone and man KOs put into one. There are a couple other X factors that you could use, but honestly, I'm going to be so honest with you. Universal coverage is easily the only ability that you should have activated as an X factor on your defense, unless you get discounted abilities on your cornerbacks, such as this inside shade upgrade. Now, the reason I don't think outside shade is very useful is because most of the time, routes are going to make cuts inside the numbers. Even on like out routes, they cut inside and then they go outside the numbers. I personally use it on my slot corner as a discounted X factor. Moving on to your pass rushers. Now, pass rushing abilities are very weird. It's either you're going DB abilities or you're going pass rush abilities. I don't think there's an in-between. The only mixture that you can put in is run stopping abilities. And for the people that are new, the best ability for run stopping is inside stuff. If you've ever played against inside stuff, you understand. It is literally broken. Like, the defensive players will literally grab the offensive lineman, throw them into row 78, and then go get the running back. Inside stuff is seriously one of those ones that is like so broken because you have to double team it if you want to counter against it, which means you're going to leave more spots open for the defensive players to come in and make the tackle. And don't get me wrong, no outsiders and goal line stuff is good, but inside stuff is up there with S tier. Now, in terms of like actual pass rushing abilities, I'll be honest, I used edge threat earlier on in the year. I also used double or nothing on Myles Garrett earlier on in the year. I just didn't see the value in it, man. I think they really patched those two abilities into the ground. I think you shouldn't be using AP on those abilities. Now, in terms of X factors, there's a couple of players like Aaron Donald. He gets interior threat. A lot of people are using that. That's a very good ability, actually. That ability really wrecks offensive lines. The only other one that I think is very interesting to use is this dual threat X Factor. When this is activated, it has a better chance of defeating pass blocks and disrupting catches. So this basically acts as kind of a KO mixed in with an edge threat. If you're very confident in your defensive backs in your defense and you want just better pass rush in general, use dual threat. That kind of does it for the defense. I know I kind of like jumped around a little bit, but it's just defense is very collective. I feel like you don't really have like specific players with specific abilities, kind of like how you do with offense. And yes, we are going over special teams. Now, there's one thing I just gotta say. If I see you using abilities on your punter, we are going to need to have a face-to-face meetup where you bring your console. I'm going to grab your console from you, and I'm going to snap it over my kneecap. Why the fuck would you use abilities on your punter? There is only one position that you should ever be using special teams abilities for, and that's your fucking kicker. You know, the guy that can literally score points for you. Now, in terms of abilities that you should use on your kicker, honestly, every single one has value. I'm going to be so honest with you. Every single one has value. Now, I will say, I think the one that sticks out the most is the Zen kicker. It slows the kicking meter down for all kicks over 45 yards. And this is really important because those farther kicks, the accuracy meter gets really, really small and it's harder to get perfect accuracy, which means you're more susceptible to getting your kick either blocked or missing the kick. Focus kicker is for anything under 45, and usually like that's easy to kick under 45. So just kind of a nice little help for when you're kicking over 45 yards. Now, the other abilities that you can use is clutch kicker. So as you know, if you call a timeout, like on a game-winning kicks type of situation, there's this ice the kicker effect where the camera will like zoom in and it makes it really hard to see where the meter's going, and it's just like to screw up the kicker. It completely wipes away this effect, so basically you're just kicking a regular old kick. And then precision kicker grants full vision of the kicking arc, so on head-to-head, all Madden, all that type of stuff, it's going to take away your kicking arc after a little bit of time, or just straight up after you pick the kick. It's going to take away your kicking arc, so you can't really see where. It's kind of more just like feeling out where you're kicking and understanding where the kick should go. This will just keep the kicking arc shown the entire time. And I have this combined with Zen kicker because if I'm in a game-winning kick situation, right? Sure, it sucks to have that ice the kicker effect, but why does that effect matter when, one, I get a slower kicking meter, and two, I get to see the kicking arc the entire time, even with the effect. Also, you can use return abilities. I know there's like return man and stuff, but kind of the same thing with the punter. Just use abilities on your kicker, bro. So that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully, you guys got some good insight on the best abilities to use in the game. I think the one thing that I do want to say is that, remember, it's your team. It's not my team. It's not this person's team on YouTube. It's not this. Unless you want to copy a person's team, go for it. It's your team. Use the abilities that you want to use, but I just wanted to tell you what the best abilities are and the ones that you absolutely should be using because they're the best. They're going to make your team better. Also, if there is any abilities that I did miss that I just honestly don't really know about, feel free to comment them. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff to support your boy. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.